As an enthusiast, I have seen a lot of insane shit from this industry, but to this day, one of the most unbelievable things that I have seen happen is a random park in Ireland themed to goddamn potato chips building one of the biggest and best wooden coasters in all of Europe, in only its 5th year of operation.
What?
To put this into perspective for my American audience, Chulainn is basically like European Air Force, but at least that ride is close to Atlanta.
Well, this aged just beautifully, didn't it?
Chulainn is in the middle of nowhere, seemingly. This is the only real roller coaster in Ireland for nearly a decade, and while it's insane this thing even exists, my god am I happy it does. Because as I mentioned, Chulainn is an amazing wooden coaster, and though in recent years it has been getting some more exposure, it remains underrated as hell. So, please bear with me, I'm about to glaze the shit out of this ride.
He is not just a man. He's not just a Superman. He is the prophet of the Lord!
Chulainn is a gravity group wooden coaster at Emerald Park in Ashbourne, Ireland. Opening in 2015, it became the first major roller coaster in the country. Tato Park, now Emerald Park, was a rather successful adventure park owned by Tato, a potato chip company. Quick side note though, Tato are amazing, and it's criminal how you could barely find them anywhere in America.
Tato Park, not for couch potatoes.
Getting back on track, they sought to make a major investment to truly put themselves on the map, and settled on a roller coaster. Now, the park did have some rides already, but they were mainly kids' rides or more carnival-style flat rides. So you think that park will be a bit more conservative with their approach, right? I don't know, maybe some family coaster, perhaps something like an enormous gravity group wooden coaster. Did I miss a page? I'm confused. I have to commend the sheer size of Emerald Park's balls for building this thing, because most parks aren't going to build a ride of this scale as their first coaster. Anyways, Chulainn, as you may have guessed, is very impressive statistically. The ride stands 105 feet tall, reaches 55 miles per hour, has over 3,500 feet of track, and a 65-degree drop. The scale of the ride is only amplified by the sheer amount of wood and just how sprawling and huge this layout is. Chulainn is a large ride, and it defines Emerald Park's skyline, as it's right there beside the front entrance, the parking lot, and the main midway. For every parking lot coaster killed at a park, at least 3 more grow in its place. Like a Hydra. No, not that one. But anyways, I've rambled about this ride's size for long enough, I'd say. How about we talk about the actual ride itself? As I mentioned, Chulainn is right beside the front entrance and parking lot in the park's all-access zone. To get to the ride, however, you have to walk through a pretty cool archway featuring the titular Chulainn, Queen Maeve, and a wolfhound.
He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die!
Okay, if you aren't Irish, there is probably a question in your mind right now, and that is, what the fuck is a Chulainn? Well, if you must know, Chulainn was a legendary Irish warrior who had a number of myths written around him, supposedly. I won't get into them right now because, as I mentioned in a previous video, Irish mythology is a giant collection of bullshit.
No, don't like that.
But that's really the basics. And yes, it's pronounced Chulainn. I get that the Irish language makes no sense, but at least try to get it right. Chulainn, fuck off. Tangent aside, Chulainn's archway is pretty cool. Unfortunately, that is literally the only semblance of theming for the entire ride. All you get for a Chulainn are painted switchbacks. Have fun. Since this ride's opening, Emerald Park has absolutely stepped up with their theming, especially now with Tír na nÓg, but Chulainn is definitely lacking on that front. In terms of wait times, expect this ride to hover around a half an hour to 45 minutes on most days. After all, it is the biggest coaster in Ireland, and operations absolutely depend on the day. If it's busy, you can usually see Chulainn running 2 trains, but don't be shocked if it's only on 1 train on a weekday or a not as busy day. The ride operators are rather quick though, so that's of course nice. Seats are given first come first serve for this ride as they fill up the station, so it's all about luck whether you get your desired row or not. Me personally, I do think Chulainn is a back row ride mainly because of the drop, but the front is still great. So now you're ready to enter your train and are greeted with Gravity Group's signature Timberliners. Now, I am rather mixed on these trains. On the one hand, they're very comfortable with great lap bars. On the other hand, it is very obvious that these Timberliners do not run as well on bigger coasters as opposed to their smaller models, which I'll get to in about a minute. So you pull down your lap bar and are ready to ride. You take a small left-hand turn up your lift hill. It provides a great view of the Irish countryside and features the flags of every Irish county right there on display. And then, just as you take it in your view, you crest over your 105-foot tall drop. And this drive gives some powerful whip towards the back. This is an exceptional moment and one of the best first drops out there. And immediately following this is a devilish little speed hill in a tunnel that just launches you out of your seat. A super surprising ejector moment that honestly, it might be the most powerful moment on the ride, barring the drop. And then the next series of elements on Chulainn are what I can only call merciless. And by that, I just mean how intense it is. You start this drawn-out turnaround providing some very nice laterals and airtime on the hills, before entering an absolutely out-of-control triple down. It just thrashes you to the side with each drop, and it is intense, mainly because it isn't exactly smooth. Chulainn is far from a smooth coaster, and while I would not call it rough, it is definitely bumpy in some spots. Thankfully though, the ride was actually partially retracked over the previous off-season, including on this triple down, which used to definitely be the roughest part of the ride, but now it's much more manageable. And then your next element is one of the ride's calling cards, a 115-degree overbank turn. Funnily enough though, this was actually marketed as an inversion despite it being, obviously not one. But hey, whatever, you gotta have something in Ireland to market. It's a great element though, as you're just thrown onto your side and kinda just stall there. It's very weird, but it's also very fun. And from here on out, the ride kinda calms down. Just a little bit though. You'll see a lot of double ups and double downs, all with excellent airtime, but not exactly as intense as the first half, per se. The first half is absolutely out of control, with hill after hill after hill, while the second half is definitely loses a bit on the pacing. Funnily enough though, the second highest moment on the ride is actually in the middle of the ride, despite logic usually saying otherwise. But anyways, this ride does feel very long as well, but in a good way. You just get a seemingly endless onslaught of airtime as you approach the end. And after a pretty tight helix and a super good drop into another tunnel, you hit the brakes, and then you ride on Ireland's largest coaster. Needless to say, Chulainn has an incredible layout. Airtime pop after airtime pop after airtime pop, all while the ride is relentless in its pacing and intensity. Combine this with the comfy trains and massive scale of the ride, and you have a worthy ride to fill the role as the top coaster in Ireland. So, what would I rate Chulainn out of 10? I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. Again, the layout is near perfect and the airtime is unparalleled in its abundance, but it isn't exactly what I would call re-rideable. This is what I call the I-305 paradox. Some rides are absolutely amazing and world-class coasters, but whether it be because they're either very rough or they're just that intense, you may not be able to enjoy a marathon on it. Chulainn is a very intense coaster, and it's also not exactly the smoothest. It's actually very similar to Hades 360 at Mount Olympus, though Hades is probably way rougher than this. But they're very similar in size and layout length. But due to Chulainn's intensity, it's definitely hard to do it over and over again. Again, not because it's bad, but because it's too good, in a way. It's a paradox, I tell you, see?
It can't. But it is. It's paradoxical, and yet, it works.
But yeah, Chulainn is still an objectively amazing roller coaster, and while I do prefer CoasterForce, which is definitely a lot more re-rideable than this, Chulainn is very clearly the iconic coaster of Ireland. I think Mystic Timbers and El Toro are both better wood coasters, but Chulainn is a strong number 3 for the best wooden coaster I've ever done. And by the way, hey England, yeah, I'm talking to you, you pansies. You may have Hyperia and Nemesis and all that steel coaster junk, ugh, but you gobshite to wish you had an actually good wooden coaster. Another fucking win for the Irish. Play the music.
Come on,